Why do you reject love and intimacy? Why do you sabotage close relationships? Why are you afraid of love? Because to all of us, love is actually a very terrifying and scary thing. On the one hand, we're desperate for it. Everyone wants to feel loved, accepted unconditionally. And yet, whenever any of that arrives in our life, in the form of a friend, a lover, often there's a very strong tendency to push them away, right? To get nervous when they start giving us love. And today we're going to look at why that is and sort of how we can approach it. So I'd like to start by giving you an analogy of what's going on. So imagine you're at school or you're at university or something, and you have an exam coming up. And you might notice that you might be very nervous about the exam. And the more nervous and the more afraid of failing the exam you are, the harder you're going to study, right? In order to make sure that you pass that exam. And notice that what is a necessary condition of pushing yourself to be anxious and to study is the belief that I am going to fail the exam. Even more deeply, there's an identity. I'm not good enough to pass this exam, right? I'm not worthy of passing this exam. And the function that belief has is when we believe that, and we believe it very unconsciously, it creates anxiety in the system that motivates us and pushes us forward to study for the exam to ensure that we pass. And that we're safe. Passing the exam represents safety here, control, approval, acceptance, love, essentially. So we have to believe that we're not worthy of passing the exam in order to pass the exam, in order to make sure that we push ourselves to becoming the kind of person who's capable of passing the exam. And now this might kind of make sense in a certain twisted sense, but the problem is it goes on forever. You never actually get good enough. And what happens is we get very, very entrenched in these beliefs. And we get very, very attached to them. It becomes how we survive in the world. So the next time we have an exam, we'll believe even more strongly, oh, I'm not going to pass this exam, because it's become a survival strategy we're attached to. And it becomes this more and more part of our psyche, our identity, our conditioning that just plays out again and again. So you can pass as many exams as you want. Everyone knows this, right? That person who's so smart, who passes all the exams and is terrified of failure, because being terrified of failure is precisely the condition that has pushed them to do so well in all the exams. When it comes to love, we do the same thing. We believe at a very unconscious level deep down that we're unworthy of love, because that is what motivates us, pushes us to try and get love in more overt ways. It pushes us to people please, to try and be acceptable to the people around us. It pushes us to try and sort of manipulate them to love us. And this can be in very nice ways. It can be giving them gifts and showering them with attention and compliments and things. But that's actually a subtle manipulation, because we're giving gifts because we want to get that love from them, right? That's just how we're doing it in that particular moment. And in the same way as with the exam, we get very, very attached to this core belief of I'm unworthy of love. It becomes a crutch, our survival crutch. It's like, if I just keep believing I'm not worthy of love, and I'll try really, really hard to get all the love, and that's going to be how I get it. But just as with the exam is how you never quite get there, right? The love never satisfies, because deep down you have to hold on to this core belief, I'm unworthy of love, or something similar or analogous. And then so when someone comes into our life and is truly being loving to us, really accepting us, it threatens that survival identity. Right? It threatens that identity, I'm unworthy of love, if someone is treating us as if we are worthy of love. Even though that's what we want, it's threatening to what we think we need in order to get love. Because we've gone so long thinking, I need to believe I'm unworthy of love in order to get love. This is this paradoxical self-sabotage loop that's going on. So when someone just gives us love, it's like, no, we have to push it away, because if I just accept that love, then I'm no longer unworthy of love, and then I'll lose all the love. I won't get it, because then I'm no longer operating from that place, and then so all these people will, the mind fears all these people will disappear, because it feels that that's the only thing that's kept a little crumbs of love trickling in so far, right? And this is the basic dilemma. We can't let go of this belief, I'm unworthy of love, because it's terrifying. We think we won't get any love. So when love comes to us, we have to push it away because it threatens that survival identity. What to do about this? Rather than sort of trying to fix it out in the world, you've got to turn within. You've got to find that part of you that is afraid of losing control of what others think of you, whether they love you or not. Just like with the exam, you've got to find that part of you that's terrified of failing the exam and wants to really control things. And if you imagine you're doing an exam, and imagine if you just let go of all attachment to the outcome. If you let go, if you're like, I'm not going to study or not study, I'm not going to try, I'll just see what happens. You would instantly notice that there's a part of you that really, the chest tightens, the stomach maybe starts to grip in fear. And that's where you have to turn, right? That fear, that core control fear, is kind of the issue here. That's what's keeping the self-sabotage loop going, right? And you can't resolve that in the mind. It's a physiological fear that's been with you ever since you were very small, since you were a child. And you were, it's created when you were relating with your parents. You were afraid you would lose your parents' love. That's when your system would first start to take on these control fears, so to speak, that tighten and push you to get love from your parents by being acceptable to them or repressing parts of yourself you feel will be unlovable or whatever it might be. And I'm not going to go into all the details, but I've got blogs and videos elsewhere that talk about how to process emotions and integrate them and to work with them. But this is where your attention needs to go, towards that core control fear. And as you integrate that, as you allow it to be just as it is, feeling it, loving this part of you, seeing it, acknowledging it, that little part of you that's like, fuck, I'm so scared, I'm not going to get enough love, and just letting it play out, eventually it dissolves and integrates and just weakens its grip. And then that sense of I need to believe that I'm unworthy can start to relax a little bit. And then there's more space for you to actually accept love in your life. And that self-sabotage loop starts to weaken a little bit. And now these things go very deep, so it'll take time. This is not an overnight job. But it's worth it, because what we're really after is love. That's the only thing we really give a shit about at the end of the day. And being able to accept it is also the first or an important step on the way to loving ourselves, right? Because this core belief, I'm unworthy of love, is also a major obstacle to loving ourselves. We reject our own love for ourselves, in fact, for this exact same reason. That we feel we cannot love ourselves, because then we will not be able to force ourselves to behave in ways that we need or we think we need to get love. It's a crazy thing. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. I work with people one-on-one to help them do this kind of magical emotional jiggery-pokery and deal with their self-sabotaging loops, painful emotions, dysfunctional patterns of thinking, feeling, behaving. So if this has piqued your interest, reach out. Link in the description for a free chat. Hope this was helpful. Peace out.